Okay, so as we get further into the offseason here for the Green Bay Packers, now with the NFL draft in the books, I have put together a short checklist, if you will, of Packers priorities this offseason now as we get closer and closer to the NFL season. The schedule release coming in just under 2 weeks, so we will know whether or not the Packers actually play in Ireland. We will know whether or not what the Packers' schedule looks like. When do they play the divisional opponents? And it's a tougher schedule this year for Green Bay, given their divisional draws. So that's coming up in a few weeks. But as we roll into rookie camp, which starts today in Green Bay, the OTA is coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then ultimately training camp at the end of July. Here is the offseason checklist I have put together for the Green Bay Packers over the course of the next few months. First up on that checklist, to the surprise of nobody, you've got to make a decision on Jaire Alexander. Whether you're cutting, trading, or keeping on a lower deal, will Jaire Alexander be on this roster in 2025 or not? I think the sooner they can make this decision, the better, because it allows you to evaluate the cornerback room for what it is sooner. I'm for bringing Jaire back. I've been pretty clear on that. I like the cornerback room they have, right? Carrington Valentine, who we spent a bunch of time with last week in Green Bay. Nate Hobbs, who Carrington Valentine came up with, and they trained together in the offseason joining that room, and of course Keyshawn Nixon. I like the room as it is, but I like it a little bit better if Jaire Alexander is in it. But even if he's not in it, I think it allows that room, those coaches, to focus in on what you do have and what you are working with for the upcoming season. So I think the number one priority this offseason on my checklist for the Packers is you've got to make a decision on Jaire Alexander. Fair number one on this list?
Yes. Partially selfishly because I want the saga to be over, whatever it ends up going.
If he's back, is the saga over?
I think in terms of the questioning.
Sure.
What Jaire decides to do throughout the course of the season, I think everybody on both sides entering into the mix is with a big who knows. But it at least puts it to bed. He's coming back. He's going to be a part of the team. And then you go from feeling fine to good about the secondary and the defensive backs to really good about them.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Packers properly rate how much it could benefit them to have a guy who's trying to play for another contract.
Little chip on the shoulder?
If they're able to come to a reconciliation and he's thinking, bleep these guys, but I'm going to play my ass off because I want to make another $60 to $70 million before my time in the NFL. That's a really valuable guy to have on your team.
Totally agree. My number two priority is extending offensive lineman Zach Tom. You've got a big offseason coming after this season in terms of free agents. Think about that 2022 draft class. Your starting left tackle, Rasheed Walker, will be a free agent. As of now, Quay Walker will be a free agent. I imagine that will change. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, both of those wide receivers a free agent after this season. Sean Ryan, your starting right guard, a free agent. And Kingsley Enagbare, one of your edge rushers, a free agent after this season. So a lot of decisions to be made when it comes to this draft class after the 2025 season. There's nobody more important to lock up long-term than your current starting right tackle, who the Packers think can play all over the offensive line, in Zach Tom. I would make that priority number two, Joshy.
Yes, I want that done probably even before.
You want that done yesterday?
Yeah. I want him to be... I think the absolute world of Zach Tom. I think he's talented enough and valuable enough to play anywhere. I think he could easily play left tackle had he wanted to, but it's one of those things where you don't want to screw up the good thing you got going. He's really good. I mean, he shut down TJ Watt. He eliminated him from the game. That's the type of guy that it wasn't just a fluke. He played injured all last year and was disappointed with his performance, and he was still one of the better right tackles in all the NFL.
He is... I mean, no disrespect to Elgton Jenkins when I say this, because I think they're 1A, 1B. But Zach Tom's their most important offensive lineman, and probably their best one.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to get Brian Bulaga, Mark Tauscher nerdy on it, you say a guy who can snap the ball, play left guard, and play left tackle is going to be your most valuable.
But I think Zach Tom can do all those too.
Yes, we just haven't seen him do all those things. I think
we have seen.
I think the most talented by far is right now, because Elgton Jenkins is on the downswing of his career. I still think he has a lot of good NFL left in him.
Agreed.
But yeah, Zach Tom is that dude.
Zach Tom is that dude. So extend offensive lineman Zach Tom is priority number 2 on my offseason checklist for the Packers. This one, I don't know. I don't love my phrasing on it, but you'll understand what I mean when I say it. Number 3 priority on the checklist is discover your wide receiver hierarchy, right? Figure out who your dogs are, but also with this room, and I can't overstate my excitement for training camp and ultimately the beginning of the season when it comes to that room in particular, because I think, you know what you got to a point in Romeo Doubs. You think you know what you got to a point in Jayden Reed. I don't think Dontavian Wicks has been unlocked yet. And now you add these 2 rookies in Matthew Golden and Savion Williams into the room. Matt LaFleur is going to have a lot of fun with these guys. I think all 5 of them are going to get snaps in the regular season. So don't get me twisted when I say hierarchy. But I think understanding situationally who your guys are, and then what kind of fun can you have with some of these pieces like Jayden Reed and Savion Williams? How can you utilize them differently, whether that be the jet sweeps that Matt LaFleur fell in love with a few years ago, whether it be lining one of those guys up in the backfield for a better option out of the backfield, whether that be whatever kind of route. So I just think the creativity is going to be so important with this room from Matt LaFleur, but figuring out who your dudes are. So discovering your wide receiver hierarchy prior to week 1, I view that as a pretty big priority for this Packers team this offseason.
I don't know how much I can call it a priority because I think it's going to change.
Which is okay.
Yes, I think we're going to start out, and the hierarchy is going to be some combination of 1, 2, 3 is going to be the veterans. Matthew Golden's probably going to be interchangeable at that 3rd option, and then as the season goes on, and hopefully he cements himself as a guy who knows the offense, knows where to be, and just knows how to be a professional. I think the perfect situation is Golden ends the season as the prohibitive 1. He's the guy you're looking at. 8 to 10 targets a game. Who knows how effective each of those are, but he's a guy that's a focal point of the offense. Then you have Jayden Reed, and slightly behind that, probably Dontavian Wicks, because I do think Savion Williams, the comparison to like the Percy Harvin or Cordell Patterson, you do have to be creative with those guys, but that's also those guys, that type of player typically doesn't pop right away. Those are the type of guys you kind of have to figure out what they do best as the season goes on, put them in advantageous situations. And not all the time are you able to put your players Matt LaFleur kind of admitted he did a bad job of getting Jayden Reed involved enough down the stretch. Now, defenses did change their approach to playing him because they said he can't beat man, so wherever he lines up, he's going to be playing man coverage. I think Savion Williams' best days are probably going to come 2-3 years down the road, but he's a big, talented guy that can do stuff with the ball in his hand, so you're going to figure out ways to get him involved wherever you can.
And my final priority on the checklist, number 4, is similarly to the wide receiver position, but a little different. Who is your front 7 dog defensively?
Can I make my own for this one?
Sure.
And I think this should have been priority 2. Make Lucas Van Ness good.
Make Lucas Van Ness great. Not again.
I think good is I'd be happy with.
Yeah, I think that falls into this, though, as well.
Yes.
Just when you look at that front 7, I think you have some good players there, right? I think Rashawn Gary is a good, not great player. I think Edgerrin Cooper last year showed us some really good things. How do you get him to be great? Quay Walker, who we talked about earlier in the 5th-year option, not getting that, but will likely get a contract extension. How do you make him into a beast in the middle, right? A guy that's leading the team in tackles type guy and is a disruptor and can do a little bit of everything. I think in the front 7, there was so much disappointment in terms of getting after the quarterback last year. Lucas Van Ness is a great example by Joshy of a guy who just didn't take that second-year step. Can he do it in year 3? You hope. But I think discovering your front 7 dog, who is going to be in charge of getting after the quarterback and creating chaos and being a disruptor, that should be the biggest priority outside of the Jaire Alexander decision for the defense. So just to recap, my 4 things on the Packers offseason checklist. Number 1, make a Jaire Alexander decision. Number 2, extend offensive lineman Zach Tom. Number 3, discover your wide receiver hierarchy. And number 4, who is your front 7 dog heading in to 2025?
You just wanted to say dog.
Give me your best dog.
Dog.
Will, give me your best dog. Hunter, give me your best dog. Dog. Oh, that was good. That was good by Hunter. All right, there we go. Plenty of reaction flowing in. The ESPN Milwaukee YouTube chat. Daryl. Nugget Tears. That's a great name. Talking about the wide receivers. Versatile offense. We have a lot of smaller, fast guys. They got to be hungry, and Dobbs has to catch everything. And the good news is about Romeo Dobbs, who I think this will likely be his final season as a Packer, unless he just develops into an absolute stud and wants to remain in Green Bay. But after some of the things that happened last year, I would guess that this will be Dobbs' final year in Green Bay. You know, I've used the term security blanket a lot when it comes to the Packers wide receivers. And that Love needs one, right? Needs that go-to guy that Rodgers and Favre seemingly always had. It looked like Love's first year as a starter, 2023. Romeo Dobbs was probably the front runner in that conversation. Right, when he was in trouble, that was the guy he lofted it up to. And to Romeo's credit, that guy does have great hands. I mean, he does catch a lot of the things thrown in his direction, even if it's a 50-50 ball. I just don't know that he's that guy anymore. I still think he can catch the football. I just don't know that he's the security blanket. I think that might be a role for Tucker Kraft going forward.
Yes, that to me makes the most sense, and hopefully that ends up being Matthew Golden in the future, seen as what was committed towards him. And I don't want to pat myself on the back for this. But
here we go.
When we went into the season with he's the number 1 wide receiver last year, my concern was he's a fine receiver, but he does nothing great. Mm-hmm. He's not explosive. It's going to shorten and condense the offense. He's not going to be getting open downfield. He's going to function best in the intermediate areas. He is quite proficient at contested catches, but I think it's because he's been catching contested passes his whole life because he doesn't get very open. He's not a separator. That's not something that comes naturally to him. I do think he has great hands, and I would love for him to be a factor in the offense. But I think if he doesn't meet the challenge of the 2 new wide receivers plus the 2 other guys that are already there that we've determined as like pretty much established members of the wide receiver core, he very quickly can become a distant 5th or 6th option. Because if he decides to not show up or not give full effort in camp or practice one week, I don't think the Packers won't need him.
That's true.
That's an interesting spot for him to be in. The offense seemingly should be fine without him. It would be great to have him, but either you get with the program or you get out of here.
I love that point because, again, you're going to get sick of me saying this over the course of the next few months, but I'm so excited to see what this offense is about, right? These wide receivers, it's a stacked room right now in terms of the competition. The tight ends, I'm very excited about having both of them healthy in Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. The offensive line seems to upgrade, or to have been upgraded this offseason with the signing of the new left guard Banks, and obviously the drafting in the second round of Belton, and you have a first-round pick from last year. You're eager to get into the lineup. I'm boiling over with excitement for this offense. But again, that leads me to the point of Jordan Love will be out of excuses. And obviously last year, injury was the excuse. But for Jordan Love, who is being paid like a top-level NFL quarterback, he has the pieces around him like a top-level NFL offense. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of excuses for Jordan Love if he is not a top 10 and even maybe top 5 quarterback in the NFL in 2025, because he's got an offensive-minded head coach and a creative offensive-minded head coach and play caller in Matt LaFleur. He's got a bunch of weapons, speed, size, versatility at wide receiver. He's got 2 good tight ends who we're hoping make a big jump in year 3. And he's got a pretty darn good offensive line after some of the investments made this offseason. So Jordan Love, I think, out of excuses this year.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, there's a lot for Matt LaFleur to figure out. It's also a big year for him because I think if the offense falls flat, people are going to really start looking at Matt LaFleur, which I think might be a little early undue. I think he has an established history as a great play caller and a pretty damn good head coach. But the options with the way the running game ended the season and how it looked at many points throughout the season, you could pretty easily point to Dontavian Wicks was dropping the ball a lot. Romeo Doubs legit wasn't showing up for work. Jaden Reed became a secondary third option in the offense. And it just didn't seem like the offense was married up. So he's got to prove a lot. And Jordan Love also, if there's guys wide open, you got to hit them. Luckily for us, Matthew Golden has a long-established history of having not-so-accurate quarterbacks.
That's true.
And
he still makes the catches.
If you watch his tape and not just his highlight tape, you'll see him coming back to the ball a lot. Perfect. Jordan Love can only throw him a time or two. Maybe he'll still make the catch. Because there's plenty of times throughout where you can make cases, you can point to injuries, you can point to performance of the wide receivers, but frankly, a lot of the time, he just wasn't good enough. He was fine, not good enough.
Dude, here's something that I've actually... Hey, brother.
Dude. Hell yeah, bro.
Dude. Let me tell you something about I've been thinking about a lot recently, and I haven't said it out loud yet. This is how my brain works, man. I think about the Packers way too much. Ever since the Packers drafted Matthew Golden last Thursday, I've been thinking about, do you remember the opening play? I think it was against the Bears, Jordan Love's first game as the starter. Do you know what I'm talking about, the very first offensive play?
No.
It was a fly route that Christian Watson ran, and they just bombed it on the first play of the season.
That was the first play of his career against the Vikings.
Oh.
Yes.
So that was 2022 with Rodgers.
He dropped a Rodgers touchdown,
Yes.
but they did it again against the Lions on the road on Thanksgiving.
Yes. Okay. So that's the play I'm referring to. And I know Christian Watson's out. They've got a faster receiver.
Yeah.
They've got a dude faster than Christian Watson. First play of the year, I don't care who they're playing. I think they got to do it. Just to be like, hello NFL, this is Matthew Golden. Hello NFL, this is our offense.
I can tell you for certain everyone's going to be expecting Josh Jacobs.
On the first play of the year? Yeah, 100%. That's why I'm saying, just do it. Right? Give me a fly route Matthew Golden down the sidelines. First play of his NFL career.
It's screaming play action. Go deep to Golden.
Yes. But I want the exact same script of that game with Watson, his first game of his career, and then that was it Lions on Thanksgiving with Love. I want that play first play of the year offensively. Play action, Golden down the sideline. Even if it's an incomplete pass, just take the shot.
Little two-man concept.
Show us his speed.
Yeah.
Get Packers fans excited for the season that's to come with him. I just think it is an amazing idea by me. Pat myself on the back there.
You're not the first person to go, hey, throw it deep on the first play.
But it's Alex Strouf, so he thinks he is.
There's people who, I think we've probably all gotten pretty good at it where, especially with Mike McCarthy, you could call the shot play like plays before it was coming. Back when they used to run that one to Jordy Nelson all the time, like you would see the setup coming and the situation and go, uh-oh, here it comes, because it'd typically be like second and short from their side, and they go, well, I think we can get 2 yards, so why don't we try and get 80 instead?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So I think I've gotten pretty good at predicting when LaFleur is going to take shots. It's just Jordan Love seemed to have, through points in the season, not pulled the trigger. You'd see him rear back and then kind of look elsewhere, which I think is why we had to do the whole sling it thing and the injury and all that, where I think we could probably, with enough of this offense, we'll be able to see those coming.